all around vulnerable leadership. And I've asked my friend, Andrea, am I pronouncing that right, Andrea? Andrea, thank you. I meant to ask that earlier. Andrea Ranae Johnson, to have a big conversation with me, because that's what this place is all about, having big conversations. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And whoever's here, I see we got a couple people already. Say hello. Let me know who's here. And I would love to formally introduce Andrea. Andrea Ranae is a vision-led facilitator and coach who believes that together we rise. She's placing her work at the intersections of personal growth, social justice, and conscious business. She's the creator of Coaching as Activism. She supports people doing transformative work to deepen their impact by taking a critical look at how their work and lives are connected to social change. She's the co-founder of Whole Self Liberation. She offers and uplifts practical tools, resources, and wisdom for those who want to make change happen in their lives and communities. As a coach and consultant, Andrea works with entrepreneurs, businesses, and organizations that want to be more inclusive and impactful in their work, to do so through their approach to leadership, their marketing, and their company culture. She's also a huge fan of hashtag Black Girl Magic, Sunsets, and HGTV. I'm in love with her bio. Thank you so much for being here. There is so much here for us to talk about.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm so excited.
Ernie is here. Hi, Ernie. Let's still a little like a lot of my broadcasts. So thank you for being here, hon. And anyone else, please say hi. Say hi to Andrea. And we want this to be a conversation. As much as I want to, highlight the incredible work that Andrea is doing in the world and being, more importantly, in the world, I want us to have a conversation. So let's talk about our intentions. We just had a quick little chat about that. Mm-hmm. Do you want to start with what you want to bring?
I mean, I echo, you shared with me before that your intention is to show up, and I me too. Me too. Like, it's just to show up with where I'm at and what I have, and hopefully that touches someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And me too. So it's like, I guess part of me sort of gets me into big conversations and can drive my husband nuts, because he's like, it's like you go in not prepared. And part of me is like, you know what? I'm prepared with everything I got, and I'm willing to be wrong.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little. Oh, we got some other women on the call. So I want to talk a little bit about how we met. Mm-hmm. I was invited, as you were as well, to Practical Magic, which was a kind of a women's conference. I don't know, it's not really great. It's like I don't know what you would call that, but it was like a bunch of women got together with our hearts in our hands and wanted to connect. Mm-hmm. We wanted to connect on a lot of different topics and a lot of different perspectives, and to see what happens. That's kind of how it felt for me.
Yeah. Me too.
And when Andrea got on stage, I mean, first I ended up going on stage I had no idea what I was actually doing from a professional together. So I literally stood on there and I pretty much channeled the talk, and I don't remember a lot of it, so I would shudder to see the video, I think, but I remember just feeling really open and just wanting this conversation about vulnerable leadership to land, however it did. And then Andrea went up, and to give a little bit of like background story, there was a lot of conversation about, there was some conversation about the fact that, when we looked at, around the, in the sea of women, there were about 60 plus women there, and there was like a handful of women of color, and like there wasn't a lot of diversity. And the topic of, maybe we could do better. How could we do better to have more diverse conversations where we can actually come together with lots of different perspectives and actually do this thing differently.
Yeah.
When Andrea got up, there were a lot of, there's like activism or like people feeling the injustices in the world and going out and talking and wanting to lead, right? Wanting to lead. They want to lead and they go with the best intentions, but something seems to get lost. And I would love to hear your take on this. Something seems to get lost. And all I know is that when I saw you talk, it was like the words gentle powerhouse were in the room. And there was something you did. You were bringing forth topics like you're talking about intersectionality, white privilege, women of color, disenfranchised, members of community that wanted equality and to be known and to be supported and have allies and things like that. And there was, I stood at the back of the room and I was watching this room of deep feelers. And your gentleness was profound. I go for empaths, obviously, because we're so open. And when we see things we haven't seen before, it can be really hard to face and be with. But it was so profound. I will never forget it. And I will never, I will forever be inspired at the leadership you put forth and how you do it. So I would, what was your experience of, that's my perspective. And I just wanted to honor you in this moment for what you taught me, even more so about what I think the future is.
Yeah, my experience was, I mean, it was powerful, but in a different way, obviously, because I was the one on stage. I mean, when I got off the stage, first of all, before I even got off the stage, everybody was standing and applauding, and I was like, "Wow, this is this is overwhelming." And then I got off and I looked at McKenna, the host of the event, and then one of the other Black women in the house and also a speaker came up to me and hugged me, and I was just like started sobbing. And then I was crying for the next like 5 to 10 minutes, because it was a big deal for me. It was my first speaking gig. It was, and it was like a moment for me of owning who I am, and owning what I want to say, owning my power. So it was very overwhelming. But yeah, just like, I won't ever forget it either.
Yeah, me neither. There was something you did that I thought was the most fascinating embodiment. So I work with, your coach too. The power of, Cameron's here.
Yes, Cameron.
Cameron. She's giving some love and being conventional. It was like every fourth or fifth line, maybe even less than that, you had the entire audience breathe together.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about how that came to be?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, it was for me. Because I was very, very nervous. I had a lot of anxiety because I was in a room surrounded by white women. And so my voice and speaking about politics in a space where politics and injustice, social justice, those topics aren't usually brought up. And I'm one of 2 Black people, maybe 3 Black people in the building. I was like very, very, very nervous, beyond it just being my first speaking gig, just like all of the other layers too. And so I needed to breathe. But then it was also there for support for the audience too, because I mean, even though it was scary for me, it was also like confronting and maybe upsetting or just challenging or uncomfortable for certain people in the audience. And so I know that we hold back a lot of our feelings by holding our breath. And so I wanted to make sure that like I was breathing so that I could like continue, and that the room was breathing so that they could like follow along with me too. Because I was every few lines, I was like putting another thing out there that might have been uncomfortable. And yeah, so it was intentional both for me and for for the audience, and I hope they appreciated it.
Yeah, we did. You know, yeah, we did. I was, yeah, I don't know. I was very present. There was something about me that was just watching the whole room. I was impacted by what you were saying personally and witnessing, you know, faces melting. Essentially, it was just like, it was like they could only, and that wasn't, it wasn't intentionally to be mean or anything, but it was so beautiful. So I'm a weirdo in terms of like, I love it when, I love it when people cry. I love emotion. I absolutely know exactly what it is. And I knew what was happening, and it was just amazing to me to see it happen, be able to witness it and to hold that space standing. And they were like, no. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, because I really felt like I had my kind of arms around the room, especially while you were up there, and just was witnessing these women be so brave to allow themselves. So this is what I want to talk about too, about this vulnerable exchange of information, whether you're speaking on a stage or we are talking on here and people are listening, like how vulnerable it is to allow someone's message to impact us. Like, it's a miracle that we ever even connect at all, frankly. And I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but it's like, I had a dream once where, this sounds so stupid, but I had a dream once where my husband, who I've been with for like, since 2000, so like 17 years, he was so into me. Like, he was so into me. And that sounds so stupid. Like, of course, but you don't understand. He was so into it. I got married to this guy. So like, you'd think there wouldn't be a lot of, but I'm telling you, there are so many layers, even after you're with somebody for so long. And so I woke up and I had this experience, and I was like bawling my eyes out because I hated being awake, because I wanted to go back to like that. It was so clear. It was so clean. It was so connected. It was like, it was so expansive. Like I hadn't, it's hard to feel like that in human regular life. And so I became so aware of like, it is a freaking miracle that we ever even make friends here, that we ever like, you know, love each other and have that impact. So yeah, that was watching them open themselves up, and like, it's almost like the word stand down. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
On how they received it?
No, but like the standing downness that's needed, I think, is what I want to talk about.
Yeah, like
the layer.
For my own like personal relationships, like the taking down of the walls and the armor and everything that that I've used to keep me safe. And I love that part of myself, but also it keeps me from like really connecting with people in the way that I want to sometimes. And I think that's something that's necessary on a personal level. It's necessary on an interpersonal and communal level, a systemic level. Like we have to be able to like, to let ourselves be seen, to see ourselves accurately, and to see others. Or rather, like when we can see ourselves more accurately, we can see other people more accurately, which I think supports that miracle of like communication and seeing each other.
Yeah, it's very true. It's hard. It makes me so aware when I'm having a conversation with anybody, whether it's a coaching conversation, like a client conversation, or I don't know, just meeting somebody at a concert or overhearing something, or just being witness to someone saying something in you. I'm humbled at all the perspectives that are held. And they can be so locked in, you know, like, so the word innocent, innocently, it's like I'm aware of it innocence of it, only because, like what you say, of myself, and that's the light and the dark, like the stuff that, no, I think that's the hardest, the final frontier. I think that's really hard for us. But when we can look at our own prejudices or blind spots, privilege, and I always have this step that I just call admit your shit. That's all we have to do. And I know there's more to it, but to me, that's like the gateway. Nothing to fix. It's like, but until I was able to admit it, nothing could change after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like, but it's really a tough ask for people that are like unsure about how to hold that about themselves, to know that they are this full spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah. It brings up a lot of shame and guilt, and it confronts our want to be good. We want to see ourselves, and we want other people to see ourselves as good people and not bad people. And then we see ourselves and we're like, oh my God, that's bad. I have judgments, I have prejudices, I have privilege, I'm bad. And so they have shame and guilt, and then they don't do anything, and just kind of like stay stuck in it. And for me, I've had to like let go of that good bad thing, because we're all complicit, meaning like we're all supporting and fighting against, if that's what's something that you're doing, but we're definitely all supporting in one way or another the oppression or injustices, because this is the world that we live in. It's what we grew up in. It's the water that we drink. It's the land that we stand on. There's no way to get out of it. But I don't think I'm a bad person. I think I can be problematic. I can be complicit. And that's something that I can continuously work on. But I think having compassion for yourself, and not the kind of compassion that just kind of like, oh, no, you're good. Like trying to like convince yourself that you're not bad, but compassion, like, yeah, I'm complicit. Yeah,
it's like trying to positive shit.
Yeah, like, yeah, I have shit.
It's denial, actually. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. We're denying the fact that we're multifaceted, that we have conditioning, cultural conditioning, DNA conditioning, ancestral, like the shit.
Generational, like it's all, there's no way around it.
This is supposed to be a podcast. It's like, we're hopeless. It's like, we're screwed. I'm just kidding. No,
but I mean,
really like, I'm just honoring how much that there is, again, those layers, to help people understand, like you said, to open the door to compassion.
Yeah. There's no way around it other than through it. That's it. Like, you have to look at it. That's the only way.
And it's so fucking awkward. Like, it's fumbly. So I'm just like, so my wish, in the work that I do, whoever is on here, come talk with us, or questions you have, or points or perspectives that you hold. Because this isn't about Andrea and I knowing everything. It's like, I feel better admitting what I don't know, and just working from there, and being open to, trying on other people's perspectives and honoring them. And that is a practice in itself, is how I feel. I forgot what I was going to do, what I was going to say. That little extra part showed up, and I'm like, about showing up. My wish. Oh, okay. So my wish is that we would all just show up and like admit our shit alongside each other. So, okay, so this is what I'm talking about. So my husband and I, it's like being in a marriage, let's say, we used to like fight like this. And I'm hoping this is useful to this conversation, because I'm committing to it now. And we would like really point fingers and like, don't you dare make me see anything different. And it could be something as stupid as the dishes or how we load the dishwasher. It's not the point, but it's like, it's the energy of it. And I started playing around with this, not manipulatively, but I was like, there's something's got to give here. This isn't going to work, like us facing each other head on, because all we're seeing is it's confronting, and it makes us both feel defensive, even though we both know the underlying root is like that we actually are meant to be together and that there's a love there, that connectedness that you were talking about. And so I started admitting like what I was defensive of, and I started admitting what I was trying to make happen, whether it was good, bad, right, or wrong. And the poor guy, he didn't know quite what to do, because he was like, yeah, there's nothing to grab onto here, what you're believing, and you're totally seem to be, and I would say, I'm open to this changing, but I just need to know what I'm coming to the table with. And it was like, this is kind of messed up. And so it kind of took us from this to like me standing beside him. And that changed a lot for us. We started having the most ridiculous fights that were essentially of us admitting like, oh yeah, I put this on stupid, but it's like, oh yeah, no, I was actually only putting the laundry there and we've been walking by it for the last 3 days because I really think that you should put it away because I washed it. Like, just stupid assumptions, like admitting the stupid layers and being embarrassed as I admit it, and then we'll laugh about it, about how stupid it is. So I guess that's something about my wish, about like, I wish we would be brave enough to know that we can actually move through that and still survive.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does.
But that survival feels really true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think.
And how does that apply
to
the world?
I think when we're like fighting it, when someone sees something, a post that they're offended by because they're being called out about their privilege or something, we get defensive. I say we intentionally because I have privileges that confront me, and we get upset about it. We feel like we have to defend and say, no, that's not me. I've had these experiences too. I've had this pain too. I am good. You're trying to tell me that I'm bad, and I won't have it. And it is kind of like like I will fight until you recognize that like I'm a good person here. And it's not that. It's never anytime any marginalized group of people. Actually, this isn't always true because, but most of the time, marginalized groups of people with marginalized identities just want to be seen and want to be allowed to exist without fear of dying or not having access to healthcare or not having access to food or to safety or nourishment. Because of like who they are, because of the identities that they hold, how people see them. And that's all the ask is like, see me, love me, appreciate me, and let me know that I exist and like that I have value. Because so many systems, so many groups of people, so there's so many institutions and everything that tell us that we don't, and tell others that they don't. So, yeah.
You got it. I think it's hard for us to, as human beings, to drop. When you said that, it's like you're asking us to drop into. That's also my wish, is to drop into the underlying thing that we're actually really asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, will you still love me? Can you still love me here?
Yeah.
Here's my truth, and here's where I'm seeking support from.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the ultimate vulnerability, I think, to be revealed.
Right.
But it's so powerful. That's there. Andrea, great work.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think that, like, I mean, I've been saying Black Lives Matter a lot this past week, but I mean, to say Black Lives Matter and to have a Black body, and that is vulnerable. That is leadership. We shouldn't have to say that. And saying that puts us quite often in a line of fire, either by like other people, and if we're saying it on social media, people that we're friends with, and elsewhere, like saying Black Lives Matter, going out into the streets and saying Black Lives Matter is makes people scared. It makes you a target in a lot of ways. Just noticing the differences between the Women's March and Black Lives Matter protests, that, you know, police were there to support, not to harm. And so, like, that's vulnerable, and it's necessary. And in the same way, it's saying, like, I matter, that the Black person across the street from me matters, and that's all it is.
There's nothing to be threatened by. That's that. It just, like you're saying, it triggers that position of like, are you trying to take something away from me? Mm-hmm. Like it's ridiculous in a way. Like in a way, it's ridiculous. It's a huge way. It's ridiculous, but yet it's hard on huge topics like Black Lives Matter, and on other, you know, levels. It's like this: can we take a fucking breath, you know, and allow another human being to say what they need to say, and actually take down the wall enough to, like, listen to understand? I feel that's a huge pivoting point for all of us. And I take that within me. I need to listen to whatever I'm feeling to understand it, to fully understand my emotions first, because they're the first kind of, they're the first thing they're my reactions. Your reactions there, I feel like a huge advocacy around that. That's why I talk a lot about emotions and empowering people to understand what they are and what they aren't. They're not indications of your good or badness. They're not proof of that you're unworthy. They're not proof of anything. They're just DNA. Like it brings up all the layers, but I guess it brings back to that our reactions are our responsibility, but can we allow ourselves to be impacted and changed? I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. Also, how changeable am I? The energy of that, just, I don't know. It's fundamental.
Yeah. And then that brings up a question in me. I mean, like, are you willing to change? Are you willing to grow? And then also, I think there's so many people that are coaches, that entrepreneurs, people in like the online space and everything, say that they want to create change in the world, and in fact try to take steps towards that, and then turn right around and denounce Black Lives Matter, or are against so many things that are human, that are, like, you know, humans asking for their human rights. And it's very interesting to me, because, like, what does change mean to, like, what does that look like? Who is that for? Like, are you actually wanting to create change? And when somebody tells you that there's a problem happening and you're like, no, that problem doesn't actually exist, what are you really up to? What is it that you're really doing? Are you really wanting to create change? Because it doesn't seem like it.
Man, you're poking me for sure about stuff that I've noticed, and it hasn't even really been about deep political things. To me, it's a vibe of like writing this like empowerment train, and I want to help change things, and it's like talking the talk. But man, when it comes down to it, I mean, I used to joke about like, working with me. I'd be like, hey, want to partner through hell together? Like, nobody, it's really hard to market that.
Yeah.
Like, kind of is. And yet, the reality that I'm aware of being open to seeing the full spectrum, frankly, I feel like it's our responsibility as human beings to not only see all of it as much as we can. I think we saw everything in one go, we would implode. But it's like, I think we're handed awarenesses as we, I think those are divinely led awarenesses that are presented to us, and they're opportunities for us to open up to or not. But it's like, saying, yeah, I'm on this transformation chain, and then it just looks super clean, and it looks, oh God. And then, so I'm learning so much since Texas. I just feel like your talk opened me up to sayings that I just really did feel comfortable to stay ignorant, because I felt like I couldn't handle it. I felt like I couldn't understand it, or I couldn't, like, if I found out what it was, would I do something about it or not? Like I was almost like apprehensive. And I don't know if I speak for other people or not, but it's like the unknownness was like, well, maybe I just shouldn't go to that. Like, almost like, should I go to a physics class? I mean, it's just like, it felt like, I don't know if like I'm supposed to take a test, and like, I don't like feeling inept. I don't think any of us like feeling like when we go to step onto something, the floor isn't quite there, and we lose our footing, and even though we both and all of that, at the same time to lead in admission around, like, I don't think what we're trying to say is it's not supposed to look good.
No, never.
Right?
It'll have beautiful moments. It'll have like beautiful and like nice and joyful moments, but it does not. Yeah, it does not look like rainbows, and even less than rainbows. It just doesn't look nice most of the time.
It's like, it reminds me of the creative process. Anytime you're trying to create something, and so it's like, this is awesome. The first step is, this is awesome, and you just go right into it, and then the next step is, oh, this might be tricky. And then the next step is, this is shit. This is shit. And then the next step is, I am shit. Like, stick with it, and just stick with it, and just be so, like, just trust this process. The next step is, this might be okay. And then it's like, this is awesome. Like, there's something even more for you that you could never even fathomed, but there's something that's asking us to step into the process. Yeah.
I wrote something, I put a post on Facebook, I think a couple weeks ago, where I said that, becoming more and more and more aware of oppression and injustices and the way that various systems work and everything has been so painful, so enraging, so just like soul crushing. Like, my heart has been broken so many times by this country, and at the same time, it's made me so much more open to joy, so much more open to seeing beauty, and to loving others, because like I understand more. I can see more. I can acknowledge and appreciate more, because I've had this pain, because I've seen this pain, I've felt pain, and so we gotta go through it.
There's like this feeling of being baptized by fire that I just really, in the last year, in the ashes kind of feeling, but the burn has to happen, like, for us to be able, in a way, to rise together, where it feels connected, it feels true for us, and it's not a pretty process. Like, recently I don't know, like in the last few months for sure, I've felt this lack of fear
Yeah.
which has kind of frightened me a little bit, which is ironic. It's not really frightened, but I'm just so aware of it. Like, where is all the stuff that used to be there that stopped me from even stepping into this conversation? Or I don't know. Part of me just says, fuck it, we don't have time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we don't have time. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't have time to try and look good. I'm sorry. It sounds sacrificial, but there is a bit of a layer of like, fuck it. Like, I'm okay. Like, I think I can survive. I've survived enough. Like what you're saying is like the burning or the tear down or like that opening up, the cracking open.
Yeah.
I think I trust the process enough to do this. And my wish, and especially like watching you open so many people up in your talk, and my hope was that I was doing the same from another vantage point, to say we need more of like show us your heart. Quit trying to look good. I mean, I think I actually said something taking a shit on stage. Like, I think that actually was the icebreaker. I was like, you know what? I may actually take a shit on stage or something. And there was something about like breaking that barrier of like with humor. It was like, all right, all bets are off. Let's see where. I want to talk about that because for us to move and navigate alongside one another, that's going to happen. Like the awareness of we have to like, maybe it's not a have to. It's like, can you make room for it? If you can make room for being called out. I feel like what I want to say is it'll go a lot easier in the long run, in the bigger picture. And that's vulnerable in itself. I think I wrote something the other day about like, it's worth it. Like, it's worth it to be called out. There were two experiences I had in the last 6 months. One of them, a woman came to me privately and was like, hey, the universe told me that I needed to reach out to you and like, tell you what was wrong with your business. Thanks. Thanks for that. And I was like, you know what? Like that. And I wrote her back how it felt. I said, that felt really predatory. Didn't like it. I wish you had done this instead. And then I did a bit of a Facebook Live about it because I was all kind of riled up and it really woke some stuff up. And that was a very impactful day or two for me. And what I loved most about it, I actually felt judgmental and kind of shitty and pissy. I was mad and reactive. And I was open to like riding it out. And I confronted her as well. And then she stayed in the room with me. Like, she stayed in the room. And she said, you know what? It wasn't my intention. And I all of a sudden was like, you know what? I know that. And thank you for like even responding. Like, I have so much respect for you. Just hanging out in this really awkward place. And you actually, now that I've had the full expression of what it was like for me, you will even allowed me to say it to you. I feel like this deep connection with her. I felt this connection with her. I said, you really helped me. Thank you for helping me like stand up for myself or express myself. And she was like confused because I think she was feeling not like being called out, but she was like, thanks. And then I had another one recently where I called her out because there was some there was a different woman that was like doing this, the term that I'm just wrapping my head around is fleb, which is, if I get this right, female lifestyle empowerment brand. Yeah. Yeah. Which is it fair to say it's typically white women that are displaying a lifestyle that is like, you can have what I have too. You can have this lifestyle I have too. And it's really like, I don't, from my perspective, I'm like, I don't know if that's what I want. Do I want to, it's like 6 figures. It's like fast, easy track, automation. It's like you're the queen bee tribe. And this was a little off. And I called her out on a couple of things, especially how she was running an event. And I said, I need to pull out of it. So I pulled out of it. And I told her why. And then she just absolutely blocked me. from everything. She didn't respond, and then I was getting messages from people saying, "Oh, geez, she hasn't stopped saying what she's saying," and da 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 da. And I just thought, that's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
You miss a chance.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Yeah.
No.
And for connection.
Yeah, it's not easy being called out, but it's like when someone calls me out, part of me is like, I have to see what part of that's true, like instead of immediately getting defensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just don't think a lot of our identities inside us want us to challenge them and like be challenged and have positions taken away.
Yeah.
Internally but anyway, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about, buddy. So Ernie's saying, I'd like to say that I had no idea the huge injustice towards Black people. Thank God for smartphones and social media. Now I have witnessed the treatment of Black people being targeted by police, government, and etc. What an eye-opener. Thank you, Ernie, for staying open.
Yeah.
Janess, thank you for being here. I had a challenging conversation with my family around LGBTQ rights, and what I couldn't express was just what you said about why does someone expressing themselves in different ways threaten you or me? Why can't you allow them to be?
Mm-hmm.
Ernie, I'm so sorry that happened and is happening, period.
Yeah.
Oh, we got more. Oh my goodness.
There's more.
There's more. Yeah, go ahead, Shan. We all as humans must look beyond. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. We all as humans must look beyond ourselves. We need to rise out of the pond of individuality and submit ourselves to serving our fellow humans and see each other. Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for being here. Another one. Jody. You want to take this one, Andrea?
There are many leaders in the world that are afraid they are giving up their power if they allow others to feel their power, and the opposite is actually true. They're afraid of giving up their power. Yeah. We gain more power by, I think there's something that you said earlier about like, can I handle this? Can I handle like really opening myself up to like seeing all of these things? And it's like, you don't have to handle it alone. There are plenty of people that are looking at it and holding it, and it's crushing them because there's not enough people holding it as well. And so they just need, a few more, a few more people to come in and like hold the weight with them because, more than a few people, a lot of people, to really like hold, because it's hard. It's very, very hard. There's burnout. There's like people dying because they don't have access to healthcare, and they're fighting for people's rights. They're fighting for people's like survival and for them to be able to like to live and have just a normalized life. And to hold the weight of the world like that is that is an injustice. And there needs to be more people that are also holding it.
A really old system, a really old paradigm, a really old idea of what power is.
Yeah.
That it's not the loudest and the strongest that leads. There was, I don't know, this keeps coming up, but it's like watching that women's march and, God love all the speakers and the intentions behind it. But there were moments where I was annoyed. At like, I just felt like there was a bit of a missed opportunity several times of deepening. There were times where it felt really shrill and not connected and grandstandy, and I don't know. And I hated feeling like that because that just doesn't help either. But it's like, I guess it's that we could do better We're all human, and like I said, at least they're in the ring, at least they're in the arena, willing to get some mud on them, and my mud or someone else's mud, whatever. Like, I completely held that as well. But this idea of power needs to be the loudest and the yelliest, and the shaking of the fist. I just feel this pull to, like, no, it's actually there was a medicine woman. Okay, so Standing Rock, there was something around Standing Rock that woke something up in me that was very dismantling for me. There was a moment where I was in my room and just crying. And I said to I was being supported at the time, and I said, I was just wretched in like something. I was just recoiled in what I was feeling. And I was like, if I didn't have kids right now, if I didn't have a family, I would be there. Like, I would be in my car. I would be driving there. And there was a woman that came on the news at Facebook. I think I shared it. And I would love to get her name, and maybe I'll share it in the notes on the page, on my website page. But she was this medicine woman that showed up, and she was amazing. And she talked about standing on that front line, and we're talking knee deep, and also, by the way, the person supporting me said, we don't necessarily need to be driving down there, and showing up and being these like hysterical white women, music festival or something, like, just so like, just like, no. You're not getting it. Like, you're not getting it. But she was saying, this is what I want to talk about, this new power. She just was so amazing. She said she's been standing in this knee deep in water, freezing, hypothermic, and standing her face in the vest of a police officer. And the whole time she kept praying for him openly. And she kept saying what she saw in him and what she felt. She was like, just being an open heart. She just continuously asked herself, how can I open up even further? How can I love this line of soldiers? How can I love me? How can I love this line? How can I love? And she was saying things to him like, I know you don't feel in line with what's going on. I know, like, she was sensing into things and just saying things to him. And he was trying his best to like stay in the line, to stay in line. And there was this one moment where things started getting rough, and he said, stick with me, and like, I'll protect you. Like, so she had actually, like, days of him not saying anything. He was like now an ally, and he was like, I'll protect you. And she looked at him and she said, they're me too. And it just, and then I think it was the days after that a lot of the officers started leaving. Like, they just were like, I can't do this. And that to me showed kind of a really true way through with this idea of vulnerable leadership. It's like, I don't know how that hits you.
Yeah. Well, this may not make sense. I'm trying to put my thoughts together, but well, first of all, like, I went to Standing Rock, and that was like a huge privilege, because I was on spring break, and my friends and I went, and that was just like so humbling. And I guess that connects to what I wanted to say is, like, in order for like the success and the advancement of white supremacy and patriarchy and colonialism and capitalism in all its like wretched forms, it requires of us to lose our humanity. And I think that when we're not connected to our humanity, so we're scared of it, we're scared of our feelings, we're scared of like the things that like really make us human, of like seeing ourselves and everything. And like to do that, to allow yourself to have feelings, to have to really get a sense of like the collective rage and the collective grief and the pain that Indigenous people have gone through and suffered, and that Black people and transgender people and I already said Indigenous, but Muslim people, and like to really, like, I'm thinking of most recently, I think yesterday this happened, Charlena Lyles was a mom of 4, I believe, and she called the police because there was like a robbery or a burglary or something, and
she was holding a knife.
Well, they said that she was holding a knife. I read things from other people that were there with her that she wasn't holding a knife. But she called for help, and the police killed her, and in front of her children. And like, I haven't seen this happen in this specific case, but I've seen it happen in so many. And Jordan Edwards and Eric Garner and Mike Brown and so many others, where people are like, well, she shouldn't have, or, oh, she should have complied, or she should have done this or that. And like, where are you? Where's your humanity? Like, where, like, are you actually reading the story? And are you like, really, like, this is an injustice. This is so painful to even read. Like, where's your head? Where's your soul? Where, like, what? And I think that's a barrier that we have to get over in various, not just like white, black, or like not racial issues, but like also issues of gender, issues of class, of religion, and like so many things. Like we have to just feel it. Like, it's hard to look at. Yeah, feel it.
Let your heart break. You know, I often say, let your heart break, because it breaks open and allows that to be there. You know, there's no denial then, because to deny it is an injustice in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, it's brothers, it's sisters, it's uncles, it's like, that's our humanity. Mm-hmm. Our neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some more comments here. You know what I love is that it's like, I'm going to say this afterwards. Cheyenne, we need to understand that everyone has the same amount of power. And the minute you tip the scales, someone is being oppressed. And we need to dwell in places where power is constantly being shifted in a way where all in the room feel empowered. Yes, thank you. Oh, I wanted to just leave that up there for a second.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that has me wanting to say, like, when we talk about privilege, maybe like the people that are watching this, maybe don't understand, like, or you get really upset when people talk about privilege, or you maybe just haven't heard of it. But I think of privilege as power. Like, it is social power that we have with each other, and with systems and with institutions, and that to look at your privilege, to look at how can I use this for the benefit of others that don't have this privilege. How can I share this power that I have with other people that don't have it? That is the epitome of vulnerable leadership. Like, that is leadership. And yes, it is very vulnerable. Because
to give up your seat and go to the back and let the next row move up. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what Cheyenne's saying. It's like, there was a great, I don't know if it was like a cartoon or something, I shared it, but it was like this breakdown of privilege, and it had like, you know, rows of seats, and it was like the front row typically is gone to white people, and they're throwing their balls of paper into, like, I think the teacher was saying, all right, everybody sit in this quadrant of seats, and I'm going to put a paper basket in the front, and you guys each have one shot with this paper ball. Get it in, get it. Who has the best opportunity? And so when you're talking, it's like, there's almost like, and what Cheyenne's saying is like, open up to a rotation, like the vulnerability of, it's like, that's what I hear when you say that. It's like, you'll survive it. That's what I just keep wanting to say.
Yeah.
Not only will you survive the dismantling, it feels like the compost that goes back into the soil that actually feeds more plants, that feeds more, and to trust that process, that there's something really beautiful coming from the mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm
hot Ernie. Now. I'm hot. And Ernie's just saying it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. And that's a good thing. Like, this is where I'm like, I celebrate heartbreak because it means something's moving.
Right.
You know, people are so afraid of their emotions. And I'm like, they're not what you think they are, which is hilarious. Thinking has nothing to do with what we're talking is from like the neck down. And there's all sorts of humanity in there.
Yeah.
And it's daring and it's radical and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so necessary in order for like us to have.
And I feel like I just described you.
Thank you.
Finish your sentence. And in order to.
Oh, I was just saying, and it's just so necessary. It's for our sustainable like living, for us to like have an earth 100 years from now, 200 years from now, like for us to have humans on this earth 100 years, 200 years from now, like we have to get it together and not get it together in like a let's be prim and proper and like, but get it together, like get your feelings together, like have your feelings, and fight.
Well, there's the call to action.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that's what we're both saying. There's a call to action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I didn't hear the rest of what you said. You said, and to fight for what?
Each other.
Yeah.
Fight, yeah, for our well-being. Yeah, I feel like the call to action is like I think a huge one is to like stay in the room, especially when it comes to like your privilege is being confronted or you're uncomfortable. Obviously, like barring like if it's like abusive or if it's like toxic in any kind of way, like yeah, have your boundaries. But if it's not, if you're just being confronted or you're uncomfortable, like stay with it. That's all for me. When I call people out, when I call white people out, when I or men or whatever, I want to have a conversation sometimes. Sometimes I just want you to do something. I just want you to like do something different. But a lot of the times, like I'm willing to have a conversation if you stay in the room with me. If you and if you don't like come into the conversation already trying to deny my humanity, to deny like my own experience of life. If that's the case, then we can't talk. But yeah, stick with it.
Bring your humanity into the conversation. Like, even if you feel defensive, even if you feel mad, this is hard to hear. You know, like you and I are going to get a whole lot further if I come back to you and say, this is really upsetting. I'm feeling hurt. I feel defensive. I feel this. Like to admit how you're actually holding it. I feel like I want to defend myself. Like even just that's why admission is so powerful, because it's really just taking such full responsibility for your reaction, and it also makes it safe for you and I to exchange admissions. It's actually kind of what's the word? Contagious. I feel like when someone shows up with admission, I just go, man, there's some deep respect for that. Especially when they're admitting to shit that makes them not look good or feel good or sound good. I just kind of go, okay, you're my best friend now. So like before we might be fighting, but there's something here of like, that takes a lot of guts. And it has, I feel like it has both people wanting to lean in and find some way through, and to admit there's actually, you and I haven't even been trying to talk about solutions. Like, I don't think either we have all the for us to come in, it would be arrogant to be like, we've got, I mean, so you're not like, I guess what I want to open up is like, there aren't a lot of solutions right now, but there's almost like a way of being that I think maybe trumps a solution.
Yeah. And
I think that is hard for the mind to grasp, because it's not a mind-based thing, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's embodied.
It really is. And so you and I are deep. Holy, where'd that come from? But it is. It's like, it's really asking us to like get out of our head and get into our bodies, take full responsibilities of, like you said, our feelings. Don't be afraid of them. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about like, how do you say something, or like someone does something that compromises you, and they were asking me for like sort of tips or whatever. And I said, well, I did this thing where I was like armed with the words. And the second option was I had no idea what was going on, but I knew I felt like, oh, like something shitty just happened. And so either way, you can just say, that's not cool. Something just happened. Whatever you just said just lit up something in me. And I can't stand for it. I don't even know what it is right now, but, and there could be something in there. Maybe it was this, maybe it was that. I don't know. Not saying, and I've got to go figure this out. Meaning, I guess what I've done is I've gone back to my own space, sat with stuff, been with my own feelings, tried to sift through what it is, because guess what? Maybe it's 100% mine. But like a lot of people don't really want to do that. And I just feel like that changes everything when you say, well, hang on, before I even make you feel bad about what you did or didn't do just now.
Yeah.
Report back, and are you up for hearing perfectly communicated? But it doesn't have to be. It's just like, but it's pretty simple. And if you'll know who's with you or who's for you when they say, you know what? No, I'm not interested. And go F yourself. Or like, yeah, like I don't like, tell me like how I can do something different. And that in itself either, totally creates a boundary energetically, which is like, apparently that's not okay to do around so-and-so, or like, maybe I need to check myself. And maybe we can get closer.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity. Thank you so much for being here, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And I will,
oh, hey.
Hey. This is how you can get in touch with Andrea and learn more about her and find her on Facebook and yeah. And I'm so grateful our paths crossed.
Me too.
And thank you all for being here. I'm just going to see there's another link there for y'all to tune into.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll finish up some comments and then we'll say bye. Ernie's saying, I can no longer stand by and allow injustice to happen. Thank you.
All right, Ernie.
Oh, more. Ernie's amazing. She's saying, oh, I'll let you read this.
Oh, you're beautiful, Andrea, from the inside to the external self. You're amazing. Thank you, Keri-Anne, for introducing this beautiful being to us all. Oh, thank you.
My humble pleasure. Jeanette says, I don't know if there's a solution, but I believe there is an evolution. Boom. I like that. Oh, and we'll finish it. Jody says, I can get so depressed when I look at the lack of humanity in the world, and I do feel powerless to change anything, but hope that my attitude does make a difference in the world. And I think that's where our personal power is. What would you say?
Yeah. Well, it can feel like I was saying earlier, like we can look at this stuff, look at the suffering and the like horrid horribleness in the world, and feel powerless, and that's real. And I think a sense of that powerlessness comes from like feeling like you need to do something, you need to do something to change the world, and like now, and there's only so much that you can do. You're one human being. These problems were created by multiple human beings over a course of hundreds and thousands of years. And like one person can't change everything, but one person can change, like can influence the people around you, like the people that you are interacting with on a daily basis. You have some power there to like start conversations, to bring certain things up, to question certain things, and that is beautiful and so necessary and needed, and that's enough. that's enough for today, and for tomorrow. Just do what you can.
I think it's similar, but worded a bit differently, which is the mind. We always go, what can I do? What do I do with that? That's the first place we go. And I always just go, oh, it's not about doing anything. It's about being different. It's about being in our experience, about being, which is ridiculously vulnerable, and it's necessary. It's just a completely different land to make decisions from, a place to project from, even. Like, it's a totally different language. So hopefully that helps people feel a sense of relief, because doing got us here, is kind of what I want to say. Being is so much more powerful. And we talk about, we can easily forget who we are. Because we can get knocked off our feet from like stories in the news, getting between me and my neighbor. Because I think that is actually what's happening when I cry my eyes out and I feel all that stuff. Yeah. It's taking away another layer that's just getting in the way. It's like the veil gets thinner, thank God. And from that place, oh God, I lost my thread. That was very important.
It was already very beautiful.
There we go. Yeah, it's just about being, forgetting who you are. Because if you can handle being dismantled long enough to just release some of that stuff, you start to connect to that power that is infinite. And I'm not even trying to get all woo or weird. It's like, with all that, if we try to handle everything, we'll just end on this, because otherwise I could talk to you all day. Right? But if we try to handle all that stuff on our own, like what you were saying, like about doing it all on our own, we need each other. If you can trust this process of full expression and get rid of it, man, what's underneath that mud? I think that's very something that really, and it's infinite. That the nothing in this world can touch our creativity, our resourcefulness, and our wholeness. That's what I want people to remember from this. Yeah. You are not your circumstance. You are not your culture, even. You are not your situation. You are so much more than that. And don't forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you guys so much for allowing us to have this conversation.
Yes, thank you.
Without any solutions.
Yeah. Just questions.
Yeah.
Questions and possible actions, and
live in the questions. I hear that word, or that phrase. Can you live the question? Let's maybe do that. And explore them openly. Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you all for being here and share this. I think this is. Bye.
Bye.